Sentana ami lengoma yangishayisa.
Iyogcwala inja namhlanje kofika.
Kuyashunqe. Kuba ngempela ke namhlanje. Njani manje?
Yogcwala umsunanini, yogcwala inja.
Amarongo.
The rise and fall of Sandile Chillies. Bengu, South Africa's most feared gang leader. Sandile Chillies. Bengu was born in Durban, KwaZulu-Natal, a place known for both its beauty and its crime. From a young age, he was intelligent and ambitious, but the streets had a stronger pull on him. He attended Kwazini High School, where he was known for his sharp mind and confidence. Unlike many gangsters, Bengu was highly educated and even studied at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. However, his academic achievements did not keep him from the underworld. He built connections with criminals in Umlazi and other dangerous townships. Over time, he became feared and respected, known for his strategic thinking and ruthless nature. Bengu wasn't just another street thug, he was a leader. He commanded loyalty through fear and charisma. Soon he built one of the most powerful gangs in Durban. His gang didn't just rob or fight, they aimed to control entire communities. As his reputation grew, so did his enemies, including the police. Bengu was not content with small crimes, he wanted total control. His gang specialized in extortion, robberies, and violent takeovers of businesses. Shop owners and taxi drivers were forced to pay for protection or face deadly consequences. In the townships, people whispered his name, too afraid to speak openly. His power extended beyond just criminals. Some believed he had connections with corrupt officials. Every time the police tried to arrest him, he seemed to slip away. His intelligence made him a step ahead, always knowing when to disappear. But Bengu wasn't just about crime. He had a way of making people believe in him. He presented himself as a protector, a man who provided for the poor when the system failed them. This made him both loved and feared. His gang continued to grow, spreading across Durban. But as his power increased, so did the number of people wanting him dead. For years, the police struggled to capture Bengu. Every attempt ended in failure, either due to lack of evidence or inside leaks. But law enforcement knew they couldn't let his empire continue to grow. They started building a case, tracking his every move and waiting for the right moment. Undercover officers infiltrated his operations, gathering crucial information. Meanwhile, Bengu remained confident, believing himself untouchable. He taunted the police, showing no fear of arrest. However, the police were patient, knowing that his arrogance would be his downfall. The noose began to tighten as more of his gang members were arrested. Interrogations led to valuable confessions, exposing the true extent of his crimes. The police knew they had to act fast before Bengu could disappear again. The stage was set for a final confrontation. In 2017, the police finally tracked Bengu to Chatsworth, Durban. What was meant to be an arrest quickly turned into a violent showdown. Bengu and his men refused to surrender, choosing to fight instead. The streets of Chatsworth became a war zone as gunshots echoed through the night. Police officers took cover as bullets flew past them. Bengu, armed and dangerous, fired back with deadly precision, but the police were prepared, determined to put an end to his reign. The gunfight lasted several minutes, with both sides refusing to back down. Eventually, the police gained the upper hand. Bengu was shot multiple times, collapsing onto the pavement. As the smoke cleared, it was clear. South Africa's most feared gangster was dead. News of Bengu's death spread like wildfire, shocking the entire country. Some celebrated, believing justice had been served. Others mourned, seeing him as a fallen hero. But while Bengu was gone, his gang was still active. In Umlazi and surrounding areas, his followers vowed revenge. They threatened to bring chaos, claiming their leader had been murdered unfairly. Soon, acts of violence erupted across Durban. The police had anticipated this and increased their presence in high-risk areas. Arrests were made before and after Bengu's funeral to prevent further violence. 5 key suspects were captured, all believed to be planning attacks. The government called for calm, but fear still gripped the communities. Bengu was dead, but Bengu's funeral was unlike any other. It was a symbol of power and defiance. Hundreds of people attended, including known criminals and community members. His gang made sure the world knew they were still in control. Gunshots were fired into the sky, a message of rebellion. Police were stationed nearby, watching closely for any signs of violence. The atmosphere was tense, as many feared an all-out war would begin. Before the ceremony ended, law enforcement moved in. They arrested multiple suspects linked to planned attacks. Some gang members tried to resist but were quickly overpowered. The funeral became a turning point in the war between the police and the underworld. Bengu was buried, but his criminal network refused to die with him. With Bengu gone, a power struggle erupted within his gang. Different factions wanted to take control, leading to internal conflict. Some wanted to continue his legacy, while others sought a different path. The violence spread, as betrayals and assassinations became common. Meanwhile, the police used this division to weaken the gang further. More arrests followed, targeting key leaders. Community members, once afraid to speak, started providing information. The once feared gang was now struggling to survive. Some members left, fearing for their lives. Others tried to form new alliances, but none had Bengu's leadership. The organization that once controlled Durban was now falling apart. Despite his crimes, Bengu left behind a complex legacy. To some, he was a villain who terrorized communities. To others, he was a leader who gave people hope when the system failed them. His intelligence and strategy made him different from ordinary criminals. But in the end, power and violence led to his downfall. His story became a lesson about the dangers of unchecked ambition. Some of his closest allies ended up in jail or dead. The police used his case to push for stronger action against gangs. Durban changed, but the scars of Bengu's reign remained. People still talk about him, remembering both the fear and admiration he inspired. His name may have faded, but the legend of Chile's Bengu lives on. Bengu's death did not end crime in South Africa. Other gangsters rose to power, each trying to take his place. The police continued their fight, but corruption made things difficult. Many officers were still on criminals' payrolls, making arrests meaningless. However, new anti-crime initiatives gave hope to the people. Community leaders stepped up, working to keep young people away from gangs. Schools and outreach programs focused on giving kids better opportunities. But crime remained a constant battle, always evolving. Some wondered if another Chile's Bengu would rise again. His story was a warning, but also an inspiration to criminals seeking power. South Africa remained on edge, knowing the next war could begin at any moment. Years have passed since Bengu's death, but his name still lingers in Durban streets. People share stories of his crimes, his intelligence, and his downfall. Some remember him as a ruthless killer, while others see him as a misunderstood genius. His influence shaped Durban's crime world, leaving behind a powerful legacy. New generations of criminals study his tactics, hoping to replicate his success. But his fate serves as a reminder: no gangster is invincible. The police continue their work, trying to prevent another Bengu from rising. Communities remain divided, caught between fear and admiration. His story has been told in whispers, news reports, and even music. Whether seen as a hero or a villain, Sandile Chile's Bengu's name will never be forgotten.